emotional weekend. Dude.
Yeah.
So yeah, you didn't watch any games yesterday.
No. I usually don't watch basketball on Sunday, but
Really?
yeah, like Friday nights, I watch NBA probably every Friday night. Wednesday.
So you didn't see Zion beat the Celtics?
No, that was yesterday.
Yeah.
Nice.
He had a double-double, I think. But no, I think all the games were basically like, they were kind of, they weren't, people weren't, it was like not like the biggest. They were kind of like throwaway games, I guess, because people were just emotional, distracted,
Wait, really?
No, I mean, they
played. I
played.
can see like the first quarter.
Yeah. I mean, they played, but I think there were some people, like, who was I looking at? Like, one of the guys did an interview, and he was just saying, I can't remember who it was, Book or something like that, or
Devin Booker.
Yeah. He was saying, like, he was trying his hardest to play super competitive, but he just was like, he honestly didn't really actually care about the game or whatever. He was just, but anyways, yeah, we had an emotional weekend, man. It was highs and then it was lows. Like, yeah, Kobe, that was really sad, man. But I think it was pretty interesting. I've definitely never been affected by something like that, with a celebrity. But like we were just talking about, he's like if you're 30 years old and you grew up playing pickup basketball, which a lot of people in America do, like he was the main superstar while you were in middle school and high school because Jordan was out at that point. And so,
yeah, when I was in middle school, he was like the up and coming, it was like his second year. It was just like, he was ridiculous.
Yes.
Yeah. And you're just like super impressionable at that age.
Yeah.
And so superstar, you're young.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And then him and Shaq, just such a good duo. Until they weren't.
Yeah.
But it was still fun and iconic. I mean, it's like you remember LeBron going in from high school and stuff. It's like the same kind of thing. But I just didn't realize. And it was just interesting because he had been top of mind over the last year or two, I feel like, because, he wasn't really doing basketball a bunch for a long time after he retired. But then, like, even last year, even like the clip of him and his daughter, him going to the games and stuff. So it was just like, ooh, man, that really hit me. But we had a good weekend before that. So it was like highs and lows, man. We launched Mirage on Friday, and it was really well received. So
how
we'll go from the down, and we'll talk about what was good.
So you put it on Twitter. It got 1.4, 1.3.
Yeah.
1,000 likes.
Yeah, that's definitely the most attention any of my projects or I have ever gotten. So it was really fun, man.
Yeah, I think one of the coolest things was seeing everyone comment. We know this, but when you see it, it's awesome how they loved Mirage and Ember. They're doing another framework. It's one of the things they miss most.
Yes,
and it's like, okay, we got you.
Yes, totally. Like, validation hardcore, like, makes me want to keep working on it more than anything, you know. But it was fun, and then Matt posted it to Hacker News, and there was a bunch of people. It kind of felt like people coming out of the woodwork, right? It's like all the people who are like having their Ember badge on like their shoulders, but they're like going to work and doing React or something like that. They're able to kind of show it a little bit, and they're like, man, I really love that tool. Like, it made my life so much easier. I've been missing stuff, and it just mostly. I mean, I couldn't really find a negative comment. It was just people who didn't know about the project who were kind of asking about it, but so many people saying just their experience with it has been great, and it's just nice to hear. Because I know I've caused a lot of people pain with Mirage too, so it was nice that the people were being positive on Friday and Saturday and stuff. So yeah, man, it was really neat, and it's just funny too, like. I think this speaks to both, like, Ember, we love Ember so much, but it is such a small part of like the front end community. And then also I think it speaks to us being more deliberate about marketing and like getting the word out there and telling the story better, is that, Ember CLI Mirage has been around for 4 or 5 years, and it has like 800 something stars on GitHub. And I think I just checked, Mirage has like over 1,000, Mirage JS. And like before Friday, it was at like, I don't know, 100 or 200 stars or something like that. And maybe that just speaks to, people interested in new things, but like it's still pretty cool. And it feels, again, like some validation that we're on the right track, that we're making things that are valuable. And yeah, we want to have like a big impact with our work. So it's like, it feels really good.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. I mean, you can always reply to that and be like, oh, well, GitHub stars are meaningless. You can't pay your rent with GitHub stars, but it's a validation thing. It's we decided to do this, 9 months ago, put a bunch of work into it. And so it's nice to see that like, okay, that was a good decision.
Totally, man.
Or it looks like it's a good decision.
Totally.
So,
yeah, absolutely. Also, it's just like, I think, speaking for me personally, but I think, we've talked about this a bunch, is just having a healthier relationship with open source and understanding how open source can be sustainable and not be draining and not be something that you are just feeling guilty about or obligated to do, but like there's actually an end in sight. Like, every step of this has been, how can we know whether we're on the right track? And for example, we just spent all this time on this website. If we had launched it and there wasn't really any excitement, it would make us question, we'd be much more not sure about what the next step is.
Yep.
Whereas now we have next steps and, maybe there'll be a course someday, maybe there'll be some support version, or maybe we'll work with teams to help them get the most out of Mirage, whatever it is. There's like a path there where it's going to be sustainable and to help our work continue.
Yeah, that's great. Did you, like this last, let's say 9 months of work, did you feel like burnt out or it wasn't sustainable or anything like that?
Well, I wrote a little about page on Mirage about just trying to think about the story and everything, because I was just interested, and some people were asking. And I think it's also like super important to know that it has a history. It came from Ember, and like there are lots of companies using it, because those things are all true, and it's not just like a brand new thing. No, I was remembering before we started, and I was not neglecting Mirage, but it was certainly in like support mode for like a year or two. Like when we were focused on starting EmberMap and doing our trainings and all those things, like there was definitely a season there where, even though Mirage has always been like the thing I'm most well known for, I was just not really super interested in like, continuing to work on it. I think it was maybe after like I added like polymorphic relationships to the ORM, and I was like, what have I done? It's just painful, man.
The reason I asked is because I felt like it's been awesome.
Yes.
This last year. I've never felt like we're stressed or working late. I think this website, first of all, I think it's like the most beautiful website we've built.
I totally agree.
And it was hard in that there was a lot of work and there were a lot of people involved.
Roll up.
Roll up was hard, but that wasn't the hardest part of this at all. It was pretty hard. But I never felt stressed by shipping it or anything, and I think that's awesome. Both like because I'm super proud of how it looks, and I don't feel like it's the open source only works if you take on all the burden yourself.
Yes, 100%. Also, like having you, like us doing it together, I couldn't have imagined not having that. So that made it a lot better, because in the past, most of my work in Mirage has been kind of solo work. But I think it was because we were more deliberate about it. We knew where we wanted to go, and we broke it down. And there was so many, just in the last 9 months of people starting to toy with it, like there's so many directions we could go. And if we just let ourselves feel like guilty about the things we're not doing, but we were just like, no, we're saying no to everything. We know like getting the website up is very important. We know getting it to work and tested well in all these different environments is important. So we were just laser focused on that. Not that we gave ourselves like a hard deadline. We let it, it took some time, but like we just were always focused on one thing at a time, and that felt really good.
Yeah.
So I also had a ton of fun with it, and I couldn't be happier with where it is right now. Like even taking time to get the Mirage JS name on NPM, and getting a logo that we were going to be happy with.
Yeah. That's what I mean. Like the logo, like we had to get a logo designer. There was a whole bunch of back and forth. Like, there were a lot of people involved with this.
Yes.
Like website designer.
Absolutely. Yep.
So yeah.
But that's I feel really good about how we allocated our time, and I think it shows, so it's awesome. And so now it's just a question of like where do we go next, right? Because there's a lot of directions, but it's pretty exciting, man. So I was trying to think where I was going to go next. I was going to basically what are we doing next?
Well, I have an idea.
Okay.
I mean, we talked about this, I think on Friday, but like making people successful with Mirage. Like look, I think we've shown that we can make something that gets people excited, right? And I think that Mirage hits a pain point.
Yes.
I think, and I think that, just reading the Hacker News comments, like I think there is a real pain point with testing or just prototyping or even like actual development that's going to end up in production.
Yes.
That Mirage nicely solves.
Yep.
And so
that was one thought I had. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. Just given that, like, I think the next step is like, okay, all these people are excited. How do we make them successful?
Right.
And we talked about like tutorial.
Right.
Just like it's funny. It's so funny how so little of if you asked me a year ago what Mirage needs, I would have told you 50 APIs that we should add. And if you look back at the last year, we didn't change any APIs. We like tweaked pass-through a little, but the API work was minimal. And yeah, I'm super proud. I'm like super proud of everything.
It's hard. I mean, it's been hard, right? Because you're learning about how to communicate, how to write better, and all these things. How like spending time on SVGs when like we could be adding like features to the ORM or something, right?
I forgot about the SVGs.
How could you possibly? Oh, you blocked them. I see.
Yeah.
But no, it's true. But that stuff is we've come to believe is really, really important, really valuable. Totally with the tutorial, that's like a tactical thing, and we will talk about that. I had this thought over the weekend because I was just having fun, again, reading the comments and just, it was just, it was a proud moment. And thinking kind of strategically, this thought that I had was like, Mirage has been around like 4 or 5 years, and a lot of people in the Ember community have been writing apps, whether you're using Mirage or not. You've been writing them this way because Ember, I think more than, especially when it first came out, but more than any other framework, was like a whole, like all in on the front end first. It was like a whole front end application that you're basically like building a mobile app, like in a sense. It's like building an iOS app. Like you had a data layer from day one. So you're thinking about that from day one.
Right. Are you saying like where with like React, you could like sprinkle that in HTML? Okay.
Yeah. I would be willing to bet that the Ember community got to like 2 repos first, got to independent testing first, independent deployments first. Of course, people were probably doing these all over, but just in terms of, my first like EmberConf talk was about this, and I didn't make the point as clearly as I think I could now, but it was more about how the conventions of a framework like Ember and a community like Ember let us recognize the things that are similar and kind of move forward. So once everyone is building like a complete SPA with a data layer, you realize that there's a boundary there, and what does it mean to mock that out? Or deploying a static app, like what does it mean to do that? And it's like the boundaries become very clear because you're working on those same pieces. Just like Rails is the same thing. DHH talks about this. So, that's something that we've had for a while. And I think there was part of me that felt like, I was just doing it with Ember and Ember CLI Mirage, and felt like, this is like works for us, but like eventually there's probably going to be some solution to this. Like maybe there'll be some tool that comes that's like maybe lower level, but like everyone starts using, but like this is such an obviously good way to work that, it's just going to happen eventually. And like, I think one of my things that I've thought this weekend, and I've heard this somewhere before, but it's basically that like the way innovation works is not that it's like this inexorable forward movement that just happens. Someone has to make it happen. Mm-hmm. So like Ember had UI testing forever, and the rest of the community didn't. And then Cypress came along, and like Cypress does a lot of things really well. It does some things that are not well either, but like it's the result of a deliberate set of people deciding like we're going to actually make this thing work and we're going to do it well. But like if they don't do that, then it's not necessarily going to happen. You know what I'm saying? And so I felt like just this weekend, like it's not actually true. Like people are going to, like the pain of like setting up a manual mock and like dealing with these boundary issues where you're dealing with like a remote server or like a stateful thing that's like hard to like use as development and test the way we're used to, like that could just continue on because no one's ever going to feel the pain enough or have a vision kind of like we do for what the solution looks like to actually make something happen, right?
Yep.
So I just had that thought that was like, this is pretty cool because like I actually have a very, very clear vision of like what this could look like, and to say like, all right, well, let's just do it. And then like you just have to do the work, and like there's a lot more work to do, but yeah, that's kind of like, I don't know, I just had that thought, if that makes sense. Like I think when you start and you get into open source and you get into tech and you just think the stuff just happens, but like it's very much the result of like individuals like personality and like thoughts on development and like their understanding or their beliefs about like API design. Like the things that we use are very much the result of like specific direct action, and it's not inevitable, you know, how technology evolves and the kinds of tools we use to build it. So
what you're saying makes sense. Are you having this thought? Are you having this thought now because you feel like the future of Mirage and the way that front end apps are built is like now like crystal clear in your mind, where maybe it was like a little foggy before?
I think I'm feeling empowered because I'm realizing that this is something that we have, you know, opinions about, and I think they're justified and good opinions, and we have the ability to like bring them into being. And to bring the ideas of Mirage and like the front end first stuff and all the good lessons we've learned from doing, you know, front end SPA development with Ember over the last 4 years, bring some of those ideas to like the community in the form of like these libraries and like teaching. And yeah, like we can do that, and like we don't have to wait for anybody. And you know, if we do it in the right way, people will respond to it, and it's like empowering. So yeah. It was like a good feeling.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. It just made me want, it really was motivating to me and made me want to like work on it even more and just figure out, just tweak it. Right. And figure out a way that like gets the message across, you know, I want to get in touch with people. Like I want to like be pairing with people on Mirage. You know, we were talking about like getting a Calendly up and just putting that up, and just, I like, that's what I want because like, yeah, the pain points are real, and like this is a good solution for it. So yeah. As far as like strategy and like high level stuff goes, it's like, you know, since we've used it for the tool for a long time, we know kind of what pain points it solves, and then we know what comes up as a result of using Mirage and some of the downsides, and then we have further ideas on how to like alleviate those, right? But right now, to justify us continuing to work on it and to be able to sustain our future work on it, you know, it's going to be all about getting new people to be successful with Mirage, which is kind of what you were hinting at. So that's like a lot of what we talked about on Friday was, and you know, it's kind of like the top of the funnel because Mirage is complex, and especially if you don't have like experience with like building servers, there's like a lot of concepts in there. It's like serializers and like a data layer. Those are like a lot. There's a lot there. And so as far as tactics, like definitely want to get a tutorial on the site, you know, and just something that walks you through it and lets you set up, you know, a React app maybe, and, you know, mock out the production API and then write a test with it. And I think that would be a really good addition. So
yeah. Yep.
Yeah. You doing all right over there, buddy?
Yeah.
Are you thinking about
no?
Okay.
I'm like losing my voice.
Okay. All right. I thought you were going on a Kobe hole again, man. I went down that hole a lot yesterday. It was rough, man. So you know, I was thinking about this, and it was like, what is like the ideal tutorial, right? First of all, it's an interesting thing because like front end development is like right now really poised well for an idea like Mirage that's like framework agnostic, but like Mirage was also created 5 years ago. Guess what didn't exist 5 years ago? GraphQL, you know, Vue, or at least it wasn't popular, like Apollo, all these things. And so one of the things I want to do is like tweak the guides, and maybe it would make sense to break it up into like REST and GraphQL. REST is going to have a lot of things, but they both have the data layer.
It's interesting you're thinking of breaking it up by tech, because I was going to say, why not break it up by like who you are coming into this, such as like I'm new to front end development. I want to prototype something.
Versus I have an existing app.
Yeah, exactly. I'm building a new app. Not even I'm new to front end development. That's wrong. I have a new app.
Greenfield app.
The backend team and I are trying to figure out what the API should be. Let's use Mirage. Here's how here's like a tutorial how you can use Mirage to talk about these things.
Yep.
Or maybe it's like, yeah, I have an existing app and I need to test it or something.
Right. Yep. No, that's actually, those are both really great. Yeah. Yep. Especially for the tutorial. I was thinking with the splitting it up, it was more like the guide section, like when you're going to like learn the APIs and stuff and all the features that, just having GraphQL somewhere in there.
Absolutely. I mean, that's a question we get all the time.
Right.
And even I get asked, how do I use this with like JSON API?
Right.
And we have that in the guides, but we need like the copy paste example.
Yes.
So, yes.
Yep. Totally. So as far as the tutorial goes, I think the first one will be probably starting a greenfield app, because you can just learn it from scratch that way, and you're just seeing all the code, and it's like less moving parts, fewer moving parts. So that'd probably be the first one, and get that up on the site, and then I'd love to make some videos, and just focus on those new people, top of the funnel, make sure that they're successful with it and they have a good mental model for it. We were talking about this. I think it was interesting because we had just gone through using React Spring for the first time, and that's a tough library, and they don't really have a tutorial. Actually, like, you kind of are going on like a scavenger hunt through their docs, because there's information tucked away in the old versions of the APIs, the render props versus the hooks, and you realize that there's more information there that you're missing.
They do two things. They do the two things well. They're API docs, and I mean, okay, they do it well. I mean, information's hitting, but they do it well.
There's some parts where it's like factor, scale or something factor, and then like it's describing the arguments, like factor is the factor of the transform, and you're like, thank you very much. That explains everything.
And they do examples.
Yes, the examples are really great.
But the thing we noticed when we were learning this is we don't know, like, it doesn't give us like a mental model. How should we be thinking about this?
Spring versus transitions versus trails versus
even like, just why should I be using this over another library flip?
Right.
Yeah. So I think that's where tutorial can help.
They do what they spill most ink on philosophy-wise is why springs are better than things with durations. So I do understand that argument, but it's still, there's a gap. It's what you're saying, which is, like what kinds of animations are good. Like if I need to move things on the page and reflow or interact or whatever.
But springs are better than duration seems like a high level thing that is I need a level below that, which is, here are all the things in the system, and here's how you should be thinking about them.
Right. So, interesting. So, so that's going to be some of our work. We're going to get back into some consulting soon and still making Ember videos. But as far as Mirage goes, that's what we're going to be focused on. And then I sent an email out we had like a Mirage email list, people who were interested in the project when it was ready. Asked them about like what things they were interested in next, because as people outside of the Ember ecosystem have started using it, they've wanted it for different use cases, and I got like 6 or 7 replies back, and a lot of people are interested in like React Native support, or even iOS support, having it work there, and that one's pretty interesting.
Yeah. Can I just pretend you didn't say that? React Native, it's still JavaScript, right? It's still the same library.
I think so.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
I think it gets, I don't know how it works. But no, I think like testing in general in the iOS development space is way behind like what we're used to in web development.
I guess any time you have a fat client and what we call thin server,
yeah,
you need Mirage.
yeah, exactly. Exactly. And I talked to this guy at MicroConf last year who worked at an agency doing that, and he was telling me so many times how they get blocked by, if they're working kind of like we do, where we just do the front end and there's existing company that does the back end, how they're blocked by it, how they have to wait to talk with them, and something like this could help. So that's a big one, I think. And I think someone actually has a PR on either Pretender or Mirage with it working with React Native. So I don't think there's that much that would need to change.
That's right. Because there's like
there's some API.
A URL object that React Native doesn't support, and the PR just uses some like npm library instead of
URL parse or whatever it is.
I think Pretender makes like an A link,
an A tag, right?
And grabs
That's right.
info off that.
Yeah. So it shouldn't be that big of a change. And then some other things that people were requesting, GraphQL. And the first step there is to just get a page up and to just show how you'd wire it up together, because I've done that on a side project and it's it's fine. Like you can do it. It's fine.
We should do that. That should be like our first cookbook recipe
Yes.
example, because that gets asked all the time.
Totally. And then as far as like adding APIs to Mirage for GraphQL, there's definitely some cool stuff we could do there. I think the equivalent of like a shorthand for GraphQL is like a resolver. So if you can tell me like get movies is basically like get/movies, and we can just return schema.db.movies for you. So there could be some idea of like shorthands there where we just, you just tell us, it's just a mapping of types and to like sets of things or individual things, right? So
basically like you define a bunch of models and you get generic resolvers.
something like that. Yep.
Okay.
Because a lot of the resolvers end up just being like get movies, return schema.db.movies.
Yep.
Find whatever. What is get movie by PK is what Hasura calls it. Return schema.db.movies. Request body ID or whatever.
I have a question with GraphQL. Like, are these? Is someone going to call it get movies by PK? Someone calls it get movies by ID. Someone calls it get movie.
Yeah. So that would be a need for a mapping of some sort.
Okay.
But if it was conventional, you could either write a function to create that by automatically, or you could literally just write it out. But it would just be just like in REST Mirage, you do like this.get/movies, and that's basically the thing. You would just do something like maybe you have an object with keys like get all movies, and then or like like basically all your 7 actions, your 5 or 7 CRUD actions, and then you just give it the name of the actual type, and then it's like okay. Anyways, there's some way to do it, either where you write it out or you get a key for query, key for type, you get the model name in it, and then you like capitalize it or something like that, and then do it. So I'm guessing most GraphQL backends have some consistency across their query types for the basic CRUD actions. So I think we could do something helpful to auto-generate those in the same way that like we do with REST, basically. Like this.resource is like...
It's funny. For some reason, REST feels more... It seems like there'd be more consistency on REST.
Yeah.
Because it seems like you don't...
Verb is limited to 5 things, and
Yeah.
then the URL is usually the down.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Where with GraphQL, I get to name things.
I know. It's to me, that's dumb. To me, like when I first used Hasura, and I was like, are you serious? Get movies by PK? Like, who named this? But then I'm like, doesn't matter what the name is.
Hasura, though, is good because there's a consistency across all of Hasura.
Yes. You're having a nightmare vision of people just going bananas, making up their own stuff.
Yeah, not even that. I mean, whatever. I'm past the that. But no, I'm more thinking like from a Mirage point of view, like do we provide a resolver, but then you have to name it? Because like names are you can inconsistent. So like there's like we have like some, like you said, some mapping.
Yeah. Either function or an object with keys or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, we can there's enough people using GraphQL that we can,
Get feedback.
yeah,
Yeah.
look around, see how people are doing this.
Yeah. But to start, 100% the way to start is to just document how to do it with the GraphQL NPM package, because it makes it very easy, and just understand how you can have a resolver interact with Mirage's data layer, which is all you need, basically.
You literally have a gist that you send people. So yes.
Exactly. So that's the first step. So GraphQL, React Native, important. TypeScript is important and high priority. Actually, there's a PR right now that is getting some reviews from folks who are knowledgeable with TypeScript, and it's probably going to get merged pretty soon and released very soon with Mirage JS, so that it can be used with TypeScript projects. Now, one person said this is needed to actually even use Mirage JS with Angular at all, but then another person said, I'm using Mirage and Angular, so I don't know exactly what's going on there. But I know like Angular is like TypeScript, right? Angular projects it's like you use TypeScript in all Angular projects, I think.
Yeah, but I would be shocked if you can't include JavaScript dependencies.
Yeah, maybe he was just saying like, I want this to be typed.
Yeah.
So
I need this. I can't use it. I need this.
Yeah, like what if you use some JavaScript thing without TypeScript? I don't know.
Yeah, I know. There's a PR for setting up Mirage with Angular, and I know
in the docs.
And yeah, it's not merged yet, but I know that folks have been following it and they are using it with Angular. Mm-hmm. So I think it'll work. But the
types will help, I think, and it'll help anyone using TypeScript.
I mean, it'll just be awesome.
It will be awesome.
That sweet autocomplete.
Yeah, truly. So again, I think we talked about that last week, right? But it was like a big PR. There's type tests. It's important not to mistype it. So that's interesting. And then, so that's coming soon. That's going to be something that is going to come very soon, because there's some motivated people there. So
yeah, and really we should I think this is going to be way easier than we think it is, but just start writing Mirage code in TypeScript
100%.
So we don't have to rely on maintaining a types file.
100%. Yeah, I think that's like the next thing. Take maybe one of the Leaf objects, like an identity manager or something like that, response in the system, and for us to start writing TypeScript, because I do think it would be really good for the library.
I think it would just be good for us.
It would be good for us. It's become very popular. I think TypeScript is fashionable right now, but it's also solving a real pain point. I think there are some people I try to follow these trends vicariously on Twitter, mm-hmm. because we can't do everything ourselves. And I know some people feel like they've regretted adding it to projects. Some people say it's actually better for like apps than it even is for libraries, because I was trying to remember some of the downsides of having it as a library. But I wouldn't be as interested in using it as myself if I actually hadn't felt the pain within Mirage development before. So I think having static typing in Mirage is actually particularly well suited for that project, because of the way, it's like Rails. It's like like an ORM. It's like there's like modeled names and like the shapes of it's like a very OOP style system, and the shapes of the objects are like very clear, and so it feels right to me to explore it, and I think it could help a lot. Cool. It's also interesting too, like going back to what Evan, you said about trying to get an object-based API that satisfies both JavaScript and TypeScript, and he ended up just using functions for the composition API. So I think that might be something that will be interesting for us to explore. Like, I don't know if there's actually a good way to do TypeScript with classes in a way that is gives you an API that you like. Oh, it's because like decorators weren't ready, and also like class static properties weren't ready. So you know how like we still have .extend in there and stuff like that. Like that's all it needs to be. That all needs to go. It needs to go. It's very dynamic right now. But like I don't know about ES6 classes yet, how nice the ergonomics would be for that yet. So yeah, it might be an opportunity to explore what's the state of the art in like that kind of API.
I mean, my gut says I want to use ES6.
I mean, 100%.
And if we can't for some reason,
why change out the current thing?
Well, if we can't for some reason because we're like using TypeScript, that would make me actually not want to use TypeScript.
Yeah,
but I have no idea what I'm talking about. So
yeah,
let's.
No, but yeah, there's something there, right? And we've talked about this before too. It's possible there's like a functional functional API where you're defining things and invoking things that would maybe make some of those complexities like not needed. But as far as, again, like when I say it's a very OOP system, it's like if you are extending a serializer and you want to call super, like that's something very natural you'd want to do in a system like Rails or Laravel. It's like it feels very natural, at least to like us. And so it seems like the kind of thing you want to be able to do and would want ES classes for in Mirage. So extending things, like it's a great way. Extending things,
inheritance serializers makes a ton of sense.
Inheritance at the level of like the framework gives you one thing, and you have like very shallow extending from it, inheritance from it. It feels really, really good.
Yep.
So yeah, we'll see. That'll be fun to work on that. Okay, so TypeScript's coming up. GraphQL, get a guide up. React Native has some people who have asked about it. There was the guy worked on it last like September, and then got busy, and like in the last few days, like 3 people have asked about on the issue. So I think some people are, will hopefully be able to finish that work, or we'll get to it eventually. And then what were some other things that people were saying? I actually can pull it up. I have my phone right here because, again, I got some of those replies. Do you remember any of the other ones?
No, I actually haven't looked at any of the email stuff.
That's good, because that means it was the weekend and you weren't glued to your computer.
Dude, like I said, I have felt great about our open source work.
Yes.
I seriously haven't
feeling like guilty or totally.
Super healthy boundaries.
Yep.
Like, we pair on it, we work on this. If we don't get it done, it gets done next week.
Absolutely.
Yeah. We're set up. I feel like we're really, really set up for success in this.
Yeah, good triage, good focus. Yeah, that's something else we were talking about doing, because also that helps so much with Mirage, just open source in general, not feeling like, if someone emails me, what do I do? Getting that system in place where, and we want to migrate over some of those issues and feature requests from EmberCLI Mirage back to Mirage JS now, tag everything. It's so much more important just to be clear about what we're working on and what we're not working on. So that's the most important thing.
Yeah.
That solves a lot of those problems, right? But yeah. WebSocket. Some people said that Node support for SSR and real network debugging. So that's probably going to be that is like a gateway for a lot of things. Aren't we like close to? Did we start another PR with that, or did we actually? No, we merged something into Mirage JS. We've tried to add this API a million times.
We
truly.
I will give you the history of
server.
No, this is actually the I made that joke about how we haven't been working on code. We've just been working on the marketing and presentation. This was a piece of code that we were working on, but every time
it got bumped.
Mm-hmm.
Which was good.
Yeah, which was 100% right.
Right.
I think we have a PR in EmberCLI Mirage that runs Mirage and Node, and it's just about bringing those bits over to Mirage Core or whatever we're going to call it, Mirage Server,
Mirage JS.
Mirage JS.
Yeah, that's it.
Still don't know the name.
It's Monday. That's Mirage JS. Remember?
Yeah. No, but
I was reading that. I was writing that history thing, and we actually cut Mirage Server in July 19th or something like that.
So we
renamed it.
We will say Mirage JS for every
core. Mirage JS. EmberCLI Mirage is now kind of like a wrapper thing. I mean, it was. It has been for 6 months.
Yeah.
So
yeah. So I think there are some pieces in making it work for Node that also make it easier to do like pass through and stuff like that. So we brought some of that over, but it's just about closing that loop, bringing them over.
Yep. That'll be great, though. That'll be great. Even for things like, it might even make our Cypress integration guide change, because if you can use there's a lot of times where it's actually nice to be able to do both. Run Mirage in the browser and not have to deal with a separate server process. But also, if you wanted to run your Mirage server as a real server, use curl, use paw, use any tool that works with HTTP with your mock server. And then also with stuff like Cypress, which is like a complex setup that uses an iframe and like a separate there's like they have two processes running, I think, and you can like also point it to an API server, and then they have all these like mocking things. Not mocking. They have these like the UI displays network requests in a certain way, and if it was a real server, it would just work. Whereas now it doesn't. So
I mean, and by that, even the browser UI displays network requests in a certain way. So
exactly.
So the more we can get in line with that,
exactly. So it would be awesome to have that flexibility. There's no reason we won't eventually. It's just a matter of working on it.
I think there's like a two-step process here. Like the first is getting Mirage newable in Node, and basically like there's like an API for saying like, hey Mirage, how would you respond to a get to /movies, and being able to get back the response from that.
Right.
Not like having a function that like returns a payload.
Right.
So like that's step one, and then step two would be like, okay, now I'm running yarn start, and when I make a network request, I also want a like actual server set up that's actually responding to these things over HTTP.
Right.
And both, I think, like certainly with like these, Ember CLI, Create React App, Vue CLI tools, like I think that's super doable.
Yep. To make it easy and not to make it like super complex for the end developer.
Yep.
Yeah, totally.
And also too, even if there's like a little configuration, it's not a big deal.
Right.
So
right. Cool. Awesome, man. So yeah, I guess we'll wrap it up here. But again, I do want to say thank you very much, everyone who said kind words and threw in their testimonials on Hacker News and Twitter. It really was awesome. I was like jacked up all weekend about it. Like I was just riding that high. Like, and I know it's it was
it's validated.
Yeah, it is. So
yeah.
I'll take it. It felt good, and I'm definitely more excited than ever to keep working on it and make sure people are successful with it. So yeah, it's been fun. Awesome, everyone. Well, thanks for listening in, and if you don't know, we have a separate Discord server set up for Mirage. A bunch of folks have joined there, and so we have like an EC Mirage channel in the Ember Slack. And there's a lot of good conversation that goes on there and a lot of knowledgeable people there. So I think eventually it would make sense to kind of migrate those people over to like the Mirage JS space. So, especially if people are coming in and they've never used it before, now if you've been using Mirage and Ember for any amount of time, you'll be able to answer a lot of questions there and just help people be successful if you're into that sort of thing. So I think that would be really good. For that knowledge to be in one place.
Yeah.
Other than that, definitely look out for tutorials soon. And the videos, those are pretty high on our priority map. And I'm really excited just to be done with this phase. No more SVG background images for a while.
For like a week.
And we use Gatsby. Maybe next time we could talk a little bit more about the homepage, because like it was a pretty fun thing. There's some fun tech things to talk about there with React Spring and the videos and all that stuff.
Yeah. How we went through all the decisions. And
Yep.
That'd be a good episode.
Yep. Talked about the mobile design, having all the devices there and how that changes everything. And it's fun. Thanks again. And I guess that's it for this episode.
Yep.
So thanks a lot for joining us. We'll see you next week.
See ya.
Bye.